Hi.
From the industrial wastelands of Michigan to the fruited plains of Iowa, this is
Why
the
will
American
you
Greed
share
Factory.
perversity?
You are the dead. Remain exactly where you are. Make no move until you are ordered.
We burn them to ashes and then burn the ashes. That's our official motto.
Now we can see you. Clasp your hands behind your heads. Stand out in the middle of the room. Stand back to back.
Who can explain the fascination of fire? What draws us to it, whether we're young or old?
Here comes a candle to light you to bed. Here comes a chopper to chop off your head.
And welcome to the American Greed Factory podcast. This is Nathan,
And this is Conlon.
and we have an exciting show for you tonight. Lots of cool stuff going on. All is right with the world.
On Halloween night. An extended Halloween night.
Yes. The Halloween savings night. Yeah, it was sad today. I was working out in the yard a lot, and I guess that you could trick or treat around here. I didn't know that, but kids kept showing up. I'm like, yeah, I don't. You want this old battery? Like, I don't have anything. They just walk right up to you, and I'm sitting there with tools and stuff. Like, yeah, I don't know we were doing this. No, I'm sorry, I don't have anything. But yeah, there was a group.
It was trick for you then.
Yeah, they're out throwing muriatic acid on my drywall or on my siding to melt it. Now today was maintenance day, winter maintenance fun. Get the snowblower out, start it up, get it all greased up, get the silicone on it, ready to go. I didn't take the axle shafts and everything apart because you're only supposed to do that every 20 hours, and like I used it maybe twice last year. So it's like, I'm not going to take the thing apart. And the battery died on my lawnmower. Like, that's helpful. Like, the last cut of the year, we can't, So I hooked it up to the charger for like 4 hours. And I came back and I saw it was barely charged. It's like, okay, just kick over for me one time. Click, click, click. Like, God damn it. So I had to go to the store and get a battery. And as soon as I put the battery in, I hit the key. Okay, that battery was definitely dead. But that's what sitting out in the garage in winter does. I used to bring it inside, but I might do that this year because it's a new one. Yeah. Got that all ready to go. Got the power sprayer. Got the pump taken apart and greased up so it doesn't freeze and die on me. Because, yeah, a lot of people use their power sprayers. They don't even think about it, and they put them up for the winter. And when it gets to, like, minus 20 or whatever, any water in there will freeze.
Yeah.
Crack. And then you go start your we'll pump power sprayer up in the spring, and it's just like water pouring out of the bottom of it. And then you find out that to order a replacement pump, it's cheaper just to buy a new power sprayer. So it's like, oh, okay. So that's done.
It's like buying a new printer every time you run out of ink.
Yeah, it's kind of the same shenanigans. Well, see, all these new pumps are sealed units.
Yeah.
It used to be you took them apart and put oil in them and stuff, and there was a sight glass in it to show how much pump oil was in it, because you had to get that weird, like, I don't know, 150 weight oil that was like molasses and put it in the pump. But now it's just, it's just a bunch of Chinese crap. So, but the power sprayers used to cost like thousands of dollars too. Now they cost like $400. So
yeah,
that's also changed. So, what else did I do? Oh yeah, I let all the leaves fall all over my yard, and then I give them the old final cut mulch, because I don't rake up my leaves, because you got to put them in bags because you can't burn them around here, of course, because nobody's any fun. And you rake them up and put them in bags, and then the city may or may not show up to pick them up at some random time. Of course, because it rains 90% of the time here in the fall, it's those bags just disintegrate in front of your house. Then you got to go clean that up. So I just mulch my leaves.
Well, here, yeah, we have a thing where you just rake it to the edge of your lawn, and they'll come by with that little truck with like the little hose on it and just sucks them all up.
Yeah, they don't do, our streets are too narrow for that, I guess.
Oh, okay.
People asked about that before, because they had the same problem I did. You put all these things in bags, and then they randomly may or may not pick them up. And it's like, well, is today the day? Do I guess? Because they have a schedule, but nobody seems to follow it. So that's why we don't do the red can recycling anymore around here, because they used to pick it up like clockwork. It was like the day before pickup is recycling day, and you put your red bin out. Well, then you put your red bin out, nothing happened. Trash day comes, they take the green bin but not the red bin, and then the raccoons and the animals and the wind, your recycling's blowing all over your yard. And it's like, oh, we got delayed this week, we're going to get to you next week. And then after a couple months of that, you're like, okay, forget it. Good night. And then they took all the red cans back. Like, we just went out there one day and they're gone. It's like, oh, okay. So let me see. But yeah, that's just like we're the last people to see snow removal and all that stuff, because we're not part of the city, and we have county snow removal for the county roads, but for some reason we have city snow removal contracted for the city. We used to have private people do it, but they said that was costing too much. And then the city does it, and we're like the last thing they do. If you have a good snow, it could mean 3 days before you get snow cleared from your streets. So that's why when I blow my snow with my snowblower, I go way out into the street, and I blow it up like fort walls, like all over the place, because I know they're not going to clear my street. So. And I had one guy ask me, it's like, why don't you go up and down the streets with that? I was like, well, because I want it to last more than a year. You want to give me $300 because that's how much gas it's going to take to walk up and down the street with one snowblower. But yeah, so that was my winter maintenance fun today. That's 6 or 7 hours worth of. Then I have to re-Lego the garage. I have to Jenga everything in there, because it's not snowblowers in the front and lawnmowers in the back with the tarp over it.
Yeah, I'm on like week 4 of my installing the backup camera in my car project. Well, technically year or 4 years and 4 days and 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Because like you watch all the YouTube videos, and they make it look so easy, and you just know it's like there's no way. Like, even though like I can do that, I saw it in the video. There's no way it's gonna happen. So the first time we were taking apart all the shit in the car just to put the radio in, and then we were just like missing a wire harness.
Yeah. And
then went to the AutoZone, and of course they didn't fucking have it. So you just have to order. Man, like, ever since the internet, AutoZone is so fucking worthless.
Yeah, they don't stock anything except basic shit.
And what they have is just some weird third-party shit. It's like, do you have this? And it's like, yeah, this will work. And it's like, no OEM stuff. No, yeah. It's just all bullshit. It's like, man, you're fucking worthless, AutoZone.
Yeah, you always go to Crutchfield for that shit. They're the best.
No, I can find stuff on Amazon, or really actually the best place to get auto parts is eBay.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Because I remember I'd go to like some like OEM website, and like you find like the exact part you need, and they have like this blowout of like every part in the car, and then you like enter in some SKU number. It's like, that's the part I need, and it's like, hey, it exists. We have no way you can buy it.
Yeah.
You go to eBay, you type in like left handle in your car, and it's like, boom, all the shit you need, good prices. The only thing is shipping and handling usually. So
yeah,
because just like all those like junkyards stripping these cars and then putting that shit up on eBay, it's like it's a good deal both ways. So, but yeah, I think I got I somehow lost the like washing fluid cap on my Fusion. And then it's like, how do I replace this? And just went right to eBay. There it is. Or
400 of them in a warehouse.
or like when I had to replace the door, I kept fixing the door handle on my car with JB Weld. But like every 6 months it would break, and I'd have to fix it again. And eventually I just went to eBay. It's like, this is what I'm looking for. It's like, here you go. So yeah, I recommend that. Anyway, so what I have to do is, so the radio unit in the car is just a standard radio 6 CD changer. There's no LCD screen or anything like that. And so all I want to do is I want to replace the unit.
You're dropping out real bad. I don't
Oh.
know what the hell's going on here. I hate it when this shit. This hasn't happened in a while.
Huh.
Yeah, it's like every other word. And,
I mean, I can hear you just fine.
yeah, I know it's weird. It's like you're frozen and not moving, and then it's dropping out all the time. Let's try it. Let's try it again. Just keep talking. See what it does.
Okay. Or you just want me to nod back and forth and see if it does that? Am I stopping?
Well, I mean,
and
you
going?
move, but it's like your mouth's not synchronized. All the movements are delayed. Then your voice drops every 2 seconds.
Huh. Well,
I
let me
don't know what the hell.
check the YouTube feed real quick. See what's going on. Yes, warning. Check the. Oh, it seems okay there, but oh well.
Well, see what happens. If it gets intolerable, we'll just hang up and call each other again.
All right. So where was I? Oh yeah. So yeah, I have to replace the main unit with a touchscreen unit, so I can view the backup camera. They have ones where you can like clip a little like, you can just get a new like rear view mirror, and it has like a little thing on it.
Yeah, I've seen those.
Which that would be probably way easier, because then you can just run the cord through the headliner all the way to the front, and then like that's real easy instead of like running it to the radio unit. So that I got the backup camera, which is just it's a license plate holder with a camera on it,
Okay.
and I had to drill a hole in the back of the car, which that's fine. Put a Grom in it and shit like that. And then I go to put the license plate in the license plate holder, and like where the wire comes out of the camera is right into the license plate.
Okay, that's helpful.
Which like that's super stupid. So I just had to grab some tin snips and just like cut a square for the wire to go through. So
Yeah.
that was super stupid. And then I have to run. So there's two wires that go to the camera. One, there's the camera feed, and the second one is the power feed. So I'm running the camera all the way from the back of from the license plate to the front of the car. So then I gotta go. So yeah, I gotta drill the hole through, and then I kind of run the wire up along the back of the car, and then I get up to this like where the door closes. There's like the little like rubber tube where all the wires are going through.
Uh-huh.
So I got to fit it through there, but there's not room enough for it. And it's just like, you know, those RGB cables. It's just like that.
Yeah.
So there's not room enough to shove that through there. So I have to cut off the actual connection and then just shove the wire through. And I'm just going to have to like put it back together later. So I get it fitted through there, and now I get it into the headliner, and I'm like, and there's like bits where you can kind of like pull down, like you can take off a little plastic bit and you can kind of see through the headliner, but like that's not really good. So I'm like taking apart, I don't want to take the whole headliner down, but I'm taking apart all the bits that are in the headliner so I can have like reference points where I can get it to this hole. Now I know where it is. Now I can move it to the next hole. Because there's like all these connection points, and all that shit's weird. Because like it's like you figure it'd be more secured, but the shit's just like you just take a screwdriver and just go boom, and it pops right the fuck out.
Yeah.
The weird one was like, you know those handles that come down.
Uh-huh.
I think you're supposed to hang your clothes on it or whatever, but you know you use it to get out. Like that shit's not screwed into anything.
Nope. It's just hanging there.
I mean,
It clips into the top of the.
well, there's like you pull out these things, and it's just like it's just wedged in there. I mean, it's like put together cleverly, but it's not screwed in anything. It's just like wedged in there. It's like this wedge is pushing on these metal clamps that push outward when the wedge is there, and that's the only thing holding that shit on there.
Yep. You know why they do that, don't you?
No.
Because it would be murder to have a guy go in there upside down and put screws in that 600, 800 times a day.
Yeah.
Because the headliner job at the plant that I worked at before this on the Focus, that was a 4-man job with 15-minute rotation. They wore gloves that looked like catcher's mitts, and they would beat the headliner into place because it's just those pins that hold it in.
Yeah.
That is absolutely destructive as hell on your hands to have the same guy doing that all day. Because one guy could run around and do it, but he'd be crippled after a month.
Yeah.
So yeah, anything like that upside down shit. The only way they're doing that with screws anymore is if, at least the way we do it, is it's either coming in pre-assembled like that and you just pop it into place like you're saying with the compression fittings or shit. But yeah, there's no screws up there because you're asking someone to cripple themselves to put that part. Now they used to do that shit. They quit doing that.
And then I had to open up the passenger side door, take out all the rubber lining, and then that's where I'm running. And then I'm running the cable down through there to where the other cable is, where everything's running to the front of the car, to the firewall. So I just got to follow that, and that wasn't. And then I had to take off the rubber tubing around the door, the rubber seal on the front passenger or front driver side door, and then run it up through there. And then eventually I got it all the way up to the footwell.
Yeah.
But I'll have to make an extension because I'm like 1.5 feet short from the radio.
That's always the case.
But I mean, I already had to repair it anyway, so it's really easy. Gotta do a solder job on that shit. And then the stupid thing is like, so there's this piece up front in the footwell, and this is like infuriating because I end up like breaking some of this stuff because you're like, all right, how's this put in here? So I'm assuming it's like those clips. Like, okay, you just get where you think the thing is, and you just kind of pry, and then it'll pop out. Not everything is like that. So like,
some have like metal clips that you got to press on, and then pull. Yeah.
But there's one up front where it's like it looks like you could just take a screwdriver and pop it off.
Uh-huh.
But it also kind of looks like a bolt. It's also plastic. So what it is, it's like an inverse bolt. So it's like a bolt head, but the screw or wait, the bolt is just like poking out of the firewall.
Uh-huh.
And then there's just like a threaded bolt head that screws in there.
Yeah. Okay.
And then the rest of it is just plastic clips you pry off.
Yeah.
Yeah, and none of the videos I watched where it's like, hey, this is how you take this off. Like, nobody tells you that.
They make running changes all the time.
Yeah. But, but I got it up there, and it doesn't look like I did anything to the car. Although now I think I got like something's not exactly fitting because now it's like a bit harder to close the door. It's like the door closes, but you feel like, oh, something's just a bit off.
Wow, yeah.
But everything's fine. So the door locks and all that and doesn't pop open by itself. So it's fine.
Well, that's important.
So that's just the video feed. So now, but also the camera has to be powered. So now I got to just find some random thing. But, well, not to find. You find the reverse light. You power it by the reverse light. So when the reverse light kicks on, it powers the camera. When the camera kicks on, when the radio unit detects a video signal, it cuts to the backup camera.
Okay.
So that's how that all works. So now I need to splice into the one of the reverse signals to power the camera. So that's another thing. So now I got all the solder stuff ready.
Or you could just run it to live power and just have a chase cam running. Angle on viewer.
Now I'm watching all these like soldering videos, and so I had to buy some extra stuff. I got some resin. You put some resin on it, and it helps it like work better.
Yeah, it flows easier.
And then also I didn't realize. I was like thinking of soldering in more of like a kind of how welding works, but it's not necessarily that. You like, because like I was like trying to like heat the tip and then like put the solder to it and just kind of like drop a pool on the stuff. But no, you're supposed to heat what you want solder and then just push the solder into the heated thing that you're soldering.
Yeah, that way it fuses better.
Yeah. So, and then I got a silicone thing, and then I got those heat wrap things that you
shrink wrap tubing.
Yeah, shrink wrap tubing. So, got all that shit. So that's
good stuff.
So I'll probably on Monday I'm going to attempt to put all that shit together. So
Oh, good.
just got to solder like, I don't know, like 20 wires. And I got lead-free soldering and lead soldering.
Yeah, go with lead so it doesn't get
I hear it's just easier.
Yeah, it is. It's better. Everything's better with lead.
So yeah, and then I'll have a backup camera.
Good. Yeah. those
Well,
are-
and I can play DVDs on my car.
oh, you got one of those head units?
Yeah.
Is that one where the screen comes out and lays up, or is it just a big?
No,
screen?
it's just a big screen.
Oh, okay.
It's called like a double din or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I mean, it's like a big phone or a small iPad, like it's like
Yeah.
that. So, but then you can also, if you want to burn like a DVD with music on it, you basically just hold your entire library on a DVD and put it in there.
Good idea.
Or you can just plug it to into your phone and do the same thing.
Well, I saw one the place where they put Grayson's remote starter in. They had just these giant head units, but there was no place for a disc player. It was like, how does this work? It's like, oh, it's got a 1 terabyte hard drive. It's a solid state hard drive in the back. You just put all your music on.
Yeah.
It's like, what if you run out of space? Like, do you know how many songs that is? It's like, oh, it's probably quite a bit. He's like, probably 1 million. He's like, that's a lot of memory.
What is it, a terabyte?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you'll never put enough music on there to fill that up.
Yeah, that was an Alpine.
It's like
Yeah.
like a song is like 3 megabytes.
Yeah. Yeah, he was a big Alpine unit. And I forget what else it did, but yeah, it was it was like $3,000 too. It was like, oh, this is amazing. He's like, yeah, and you know that's cheaper than to replace the big touchscreen in your car. I said, yeah, I know. That's why I lease cars now, because I'm not fucking replacing that shit.
Yeah, I bought this stuff like 5 years ago. So it wasn't that expensive, but I just never bothered to. And this is why I didn't bother, because it takes.
Yeah,
At least at least I knew like something's gonna fuck up, so I left room for things to be fucked up, and so I wasn't gonna waste a whole day and not be able to accomplish anything.
yeah. When it got better for my friends that because we used to do shit to our cars all the time. Well, actually, they used to do shit to my car because I wasn't really that good at it, but I was there to hold tools and learn. Yeah, once we got putting transmissions in cars when it's minus 20 outside. And you're just laying down in a garage and you're going to get like cardboard from behind the grocery store because the concrete, your back's going numb. It's like, yeah, once you don't do that shit anymore, you're like, oh, working on cars doesn't suck this bad. When you have lifts and stuff, it's like,
Yeah.
oh, this is good. I could actually, this is great. Because I remember like alternator jobs could become something so simple. I mean, we're talking real simplistic vehicles too, not modern day ones where you got to take the fender off to put the alternator in. But the old, where the engine was facing forward, it was a rear wheel drive. That could still turn into 3 hours. But when you have a fucking garage and power tools, like 15 minutes. Oh, your belt's bad too. Let's just replace that while we're here. Another 5 minutes, and then you go. But yeah, you don't have access to that when you're teenagers. So you're just outside or in your driveway with manual tools.
Yeah, the one that I was surprised about that went pretty well was taking off the plastic molding around the radio.
Yeah.
Because that used to be like a nightmare, because it used to be like it's like security or whatever, tried to like make sure nobody takes the radio out. But I watched a YouTube video and the guy literally, it's my car that he has, well, not my my make and model, and he takes a spatula to it. It's like, look, it's that easy. It's like bullshit. But I go out there and the shit pops right off. It's like, God damn it.
Yeah, I've had to do some work on cars in the last couple years, but that's mainly because I have a bad temper. And when things don't work, I tend to like Hulk smash shit, which is dumb because number one, I don't own this shit. It's expensive, but yeah, I've taken the interiors of some of my cars apart. I remember I broke the door handle completely off. Like I was mad and I just like grabbed the hold of the door and pulled it and the whole thing came off in my hand. And it was like, oh, what the? And there was wires and shit. It's like, well, what am I going to do now? But thankfully I went down there, and as long as you don't destroy the sensors, it was $65 for a new door handle. but I had all the weird tools and stuff to, like Torx number 3 and all the little Torx with the inset heads.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I happen to have a set of those, and yeah, outside of being out $65, like I didn't destroy the sensors in the door, I just ripped it out of its moorings. So I was like, oh, okay, I got away with a good one here, because he's like, did you break the wires on the sensors? Like, no, it's hanging by the wires. Good, because that's $400. It's like, oh no, I didn't. I'll be transferring that over to the new one, because everything comes paint matched. So you don't have to fuck around with like, well, we got one, but you have to paint it to match like you used to. Like everything now is paint matched. So it's like, oh, okay. So about an hour later, I got that going, and then my radio fucked up once, and I replaced that. That wasn't cheap. But I turned it in last year, and no one said a word. So. Hey, the car looks great. Thank you. So yeah, when I'm not punching things, I don't usually have to work on cars anymore.
The only other thing is like I changed the oil in my car, and I have to do a weird thing because it has like a bleeder valve, but I don't know how to like keep it open, so I just have to sit there with a screwdriver pressed into the bleeder valve until it drains.
Oh, I thought, yeah, you got the weird fucked up. You have like a Subaru, right?
Yeah, but like not like whoever had it before did some shit to the car, because like while repairing various things in the car, I realized that there's just shit missing. It's like, oh yeah, this is the trials of a used car. Because when
an engineer owns my car before me.
Well, it has a what's that liner spray that you put on a car?
It's a truck bed liner.
Yeah, there's like parts there's like parts in the car that are like sprayed with that. That's kind of nice. It's like parts that would most likely be like hit by something, so that's nice, and it looks slightly different from cars that are my exact model and color and all that. Like my car almost kind of looks like a weird version of the DeLorean. Like that's what my car looks like.
Yeah.
But like when I went to replace the headlights on my car, like I watched this there's a guy that had a very detailed version how to change the headlights, because you can't just because you have to do it blind.
Yeah.
It's like you can see that, like, oh, that's where I do the thing, but like as soon as you put your hand there, it's like I can't see anything. So you have to do everything blind. But like this guy has a great video where he made like a mock-up thing of like how you hit the switch and lock it back up and all that stuff. But anyways, like in every video, there's this little plastic cup that seals up the headlight area. So and you have to take the fender out to get in there. So that was fun. And all the clamps are like, all the various clamps, like obviously the guy who replaced it before like broke half of them because like they're different.
Yeah.
Like some of them are ones where you just like pry it out, and some of them are ones where you unscrew it to pry it out. Fun. Not knowing which one it is. And then you get in there and it's like, why don't I have that thing? So whoever replaced light bulbs before me just forgot to put the plastic thing back in. Or he had somebody else do it and they stole those.
Yeah, it's okay. We need these. That's the nice thing if you ever get a new car, like in the future sometime, there's pretty much lifetime service headlights now.
Yeah,
like they don't ever. I mean, the car will rust away before that headlight because they're all like LEDs.
Yeah, they're like LEDs now. Yeah. And then of course, like whatever he fucked up on the oil tank, so they had to like put a different oil tank thing. Because like I went to Walmart one time and it's like, yeah, change my oil, and they're like, this is aftermarket part, we can't change the oil in the car. So
it's just a compression bleeder valve, right?
Yeah.
Oh, and the guys just wouldn't do that, huh?
Yep.
Yeah, fucking morons.
Well, I mean, it's easy they probably get sued all the time for weird shit. So like, if anything is slightly inconsistent, they're just like, yeah, we're not doing it. So,
well, my thing with oil change things is I don't go. I have a guy. We have our mechanic who does like Grayson's car, and a guy I trust, and he'll do anything. And then for my new cars, it all comes with free oil changes anyway. I turn them in every 2 or 3 years, so I don't pay for the oil changes. But yeah, I would never go get my oil changed any place because there's so many bad things that happen. Because you got people running around doing 50 fucking oil changes. And, yeah, let's forget to put the nut back in, and and you drive down the road and your engine explodes, and then you got to prove that they did it. It's like, well, I didn't take the fucking nut out of the oil pan. I'm pretty sure I didn't do that. And then they'll settle with you or whatever, but they'll want to put they'll pull an engine out of a junkyard that had more miles than your engine on it. And it's like, yeah, you've been made whole now. This matter's settled. And it's like that engine blows up a week later. Like, oh, okay. Yeah.
Nice. So yeah, that's the trials and tribulations of buying a used car. Not everything, because like there's no way you could just like, even if you just like got in the engine and knew what you're looking for, like all these things I've discovered, there's no way you'd find them unless you're like going in there to look for them.
Unless you're taking the car apart, just dismantling it.
Otherwise, runs fine. So
yeah. Yeah, I've encountered some weird shit in my days.
Well, that's why I bought a new car one time, is because we were just kept getting used cars and they kept like breaking down within like a year, and like we can't do anything with them except just take them to a junkyard for $500.
Yeah.
And so it's like, why don't I just buy a new car and then we don't have to worry about that shit.
That's why I started leasing cars, because I was like diehard. Like I kept cars with 260,000 miles on them.
Yeah.
But it got more expensive to them than like a car payment if you add up your repair bills over the years. I was like, well, fuck it. Then it's like, you want to lease? I was like, no, I can never meet the miles, And then you find out like how many miles you can actually get on a lease. And if you don't lease premier vehicles, or you lease something that they really just don't want on the lots, you get even further discounts. And it's like, well, I don't really drive that much anymore. I drive to work and I drive home and I go to the grocery store. So it's like, okay, yeah, I can do that.
Yeah, I thought about doing it, but then like when I calculate like the miles I drive, it's always like over the limit. But
yeah, I'm under, because I'm literally, Stacy can lease a car with 10,000 miles a year on it and be under.
Yeah.
She goes to work, she comes home. I have to do more, because mine's typically the traveling car and my drive to work is longer. But yeah, when I'm home on the weekends, like I said, it's like 5 miles all weekend. Maybe I don't really go anywhere. And I was even doing that before we were just covered with viruses. That was my mode. But yeah, some people like go to Florida and stuff, and it's like, well, you can't leave cars if you're doing that.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I can maybe do it now, but I used to have like the drive to school and back every day, the drive to work and back every day. I drive home for lunch. And then when I had drill, like that was, 3 hours of driving.
Driving, yeah. No, leasing's for old people like me, when you're set and you're only going a few places. And that's also because when cars fell out of favor, like when they started ramping down cars 5 years ago, I got some great leases on shit. Now they're not so favorable. So this is the last good lease I'll get. I'll probably end up buying something next time, because it's, it gets more expensive. If you want anything that's like really hot, you're going to pay through the nose for it. So you got to watch that. But,
yeah, speaking of cars, we have another F1 update.
oh, what happened?
Well, it's just the usual one. We have the results of Portugal. Did you watch the Portugal race?
I didn't get to watch that one.
Oh, okay. It was pretty cool. I don't. It's another one of those weird ones where it's like, it was a great race where the same 3 people ended up on the podium.
Okay.
It was another Lewis Hamilton victory, Bottas in second, and Max Verstappen in third place. So that's how it always is. Lewis Hamilton beat the record for most wins in F1, so he got that. He got his 90-second victory.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a really cool track, because like how cinematic it is, because how it like goes up and down and everything, and where they put the cameras, where they have the helicopter chase cars around the track. It was really fucking cool. Trying to think of all the stuff that happened, because I only watched the highlights. I didn't go back and watch the race, so I'm forgetting things. Because I can't remember who came in fourth. I think Charles Leclerc came in fourth. Yeah, Ferrari's been doing okay. Or at least Charles Leclerc has been doing pretty good. Sebastian Vettel not so much, but I don't know. They kind of Ferrari and Red Bull kind of have a similar thing where it's like we don't know what's exactly going on, but it seems like all their effort is built around one guy and his driving style, and then like it doesn't help their partner whatsoever.
Oh, okay.
Because it's like Max Verstappen's always getting on the podium. Alex Albon, like he came in 12th last race. It's like that's not good. You're in the same fucking car. I mean, presumably.
Yeah.
Because I don't the thing I know about like Max Verstappen is that his driving style is very aggressive, and what I mean by that is like, like when your car gets out of control, like the way you kind of get it back in control is like maybe you slow down
Yeah.
and like catch the car. Well, what he does is he accelerates and just tries to grab the car. So it's one of the, and I'm not sure if other drivers do that or not. I know there's a lot of weird stuff with F1 cars where it's like it's actually safer to go faster because of how the aerodynamics work. Where it's
Right.
like if you slow down, your car becomes uncontrollable. So it's actually safer to drive faster in weird instances. But there's a limit. Once that breaks, then it becomes uncontrollable again. But yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's like I think like that's why the way they build the car, they're building it around Max Verstappen's style, and anybody else who comes in that second seat like doesn't drive like him, so they always like are having trouble with the car. But anyways, what else happened? Like Lance Stroll kept. I forgot last race where Lance Stroll got sick and he got replaced. And they just had a stomach. They just thought I had stomach flu. No, he had COVID-19.
Oh, did he? Okay.
Yeah. So, their second driver to get COVID. So that's weird.
What are they doing? Are they just hanging around with filthy prostitutes?
So yeah, during Portugal during practice, Lance Stroll like got caught up with Max Verstappen. And then Max Verstappen got on the radio and called him a lot of how do you say that? Outdated racist phrases. He called him a Mongol, but I think he meant to say Mongoloid, but maybe because English is his third language. Which that like Mongol that's old school like racist and ableist.
Yeah.
Like it's like that didn't go out of favor because like people are frowned upon it. They just went out of favor because nobody used that anymore. So that's a weird one to bring up. They also called him a fucking retard, so people got on Max Verstappen about that. And he got asked it in our interview. It's like, hey, are you all sorry about the things you said on the radio? And he just said, not my problem, and walked away from the interview. Whereas on the flip side, Lando Norris, who also during the race got fucked over by Lance Stroll, who like he was carrying speed in a corner and then got around him and then just cut him off and just like ripped off his front wing and then knocked himself out of the race and fucked up Lando Norris's race.
Oh, okay.
So Lando Norris on the radio calls him a fucking cunt. So, but he's British, so it's it's not as harsh.
I mean something different.
Well, it just comes off less harsh when you're British. And also he said like, yeah, apparently he didn't learn in practice, but apparently he never learns anyways. He said, but then later on, Lando Norris apologized for those things, even though he really didn't have to. It's like he's purely justified in the shit he was saying. Max Verstappen doesn't give a shit. Like, I don't care about your feelings. I don't know, it's like a video game stuff where it's like people get heated in the moment and then just like say racist things. But I'm always like, it's like, why is that like at the forefront of your mind is the thing to say?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't understand exactly what that means, but
Well, at least here, I mean, I don't know. It was interesting.
or why they do. Well, you want to know like the thing with like you know, because I the English, the British guys and the Irish guys, they call everyone cunts, and like here that's really offensive. But I didn't realize like the term fanny
Yeah.
is like that's like saying cunt here.
Yeah.
And it's because I learned that when because Joe Rogan's a big fan of the fanny packs, giving those away to this British guy, and he's like, "Yeah, I don't know if I want a fanny pack." They were talking about what that meant, and he's like, "That's like saying I'm wearing a cunt bag here." it just it doesn't mean the same thing, but it's yeah, it's kind of funny.
I think Perez came in 5th place, and then like Pierre Gasly or something came in pretty good.
Yeah,
He had a pretty good race. Yeah, they were talking about like, yeah, his race was really good, but they're looking to. They're like, yeah, our car's good in a race, but we need to get better qualifying so that we can get. So once we figure that out, we'll be good. So this race, they just had qualifying today, and he qualified 4th. So
yeah.
I doubt that he can be able to chase down the Mercedes, but that'd be cool. See what happens. Also, yeah, the Portugal race was like the drivers seemed to really like it. It was very technical, like because you're going up and down hills, like you're not always like it's like a blind corner, so a lot of that stuff was tricky. But yeah, it was a really fucking cinematic race. But I don't think it's. I think they're working on the schedule for next year, and I don't think it's on there. So I don't think they're going back. But and then this week they have Imola, which is I believe it's in how was it? It's like San Marino or something like that. It's like technically not a part of Italy. It's like one of those independent city states or whatever.
Yeah. That weird. I know what you're talking about, but yeah.
But yeah, the drivers seem to really like this track too because it's just like really fast. It's not like top speed fast. It's just like every time you're hitting a corner, it's just really fast corners. So that's what they like about it. Just like so, you're always feeling like under speed. There's also like the last on track death happened here. This is where Ayrton Senna died in 19.
You told me the last time we were talking about this. This was the track.
But they changed that corner up, so it's like 3 turns. Because the reason why it became dangerous is because it's like a turn off a straightaway, but it's a very long, slow turn. So it's such a shallow turn that you don't necessarily have to like brake at all. You can just take it at full speed, but you are turning the car. And so it's just really easy for the car to just get loose. And then there's a wall like 5 feet from the track.
Yeah, if you're not riding that apex perfectly, it's just going to come out from under you.
Yeah, and then you just hit a wall. So
yeah,
that's what happened there. It's at Ayrton Senna. What's also even weirder is because like his test driver drove his car the day before, and he died at that. This test driver died the exact same corner.
Oh, Jesus. That's weird.
Yep. But yeah, that's when they started doing all the getting really into safety, and that was the last on track death. Was 26 years ago there, and then Jules Bianchi I think died in 2014, but like he was like kept alive in a like a medical coma for like 8 months, and then he eventually just kind of
They just couldn't come out of it.
yeah.
Well, that's exciting.
But yeah, this it looks like a cool track, but no idea who's. Oh yeah, Bottas qualified first. So.
Okay.
Well, they had a weird schedule this weekend where they didn't have free practice 1 through 3 like they normally do. Mm-hmm. They just had Saturday. They had like an extended free practice and then qualifying, and that's it. So a lot of Mercedes is like super good at it. If like you just get them enough data about the track, they're just going to lock it in and just essentially just win the race from a pure data standpoint.
Right.
So if they don't get all that, then it becomes a bit more even though they still qualified first and second place. But yeah, I believe Mercedes has qualified for pole position at every race this year.
That surprised anyone?
I guess not, but at least I think Max. Well, last year Max Verstappen and Charles Leclerc got pole position like several times last year, and this year it's none. Which is you expect that for Ferrari because they were cheating,
Yeah.
but I guess it's a little surprising with Honda, but maybe a lot of the tracks aren't necessarily favoring Honda because a lot of what Honda builds for is because the other thing is aerodynamics. So if you have a lot of slow, curvy tracks, then that's where they gain an advantage. But that's also where Mercedes is the best too. But they kind of they have good straight line speed and good cornering speed.
Oh, okay.
But
And what's their next one? The Turkish Grand Prix?
I think it's Bahrain.
Is it? Okay.
There's like 2 Bahrains races because there's 2 different versions of the Bahrain track. There's a long one and a short one. And they're gonna do both races.
Oh, okay.
And then there's a ton of driver rumors.
Okay.
So there was a weird one where they thought George Russell was going to get kicked out of Williams and Perez was going to take his spot, which seemed weird. Especially because even though George Russell has never scored a point in F1, he's also never been beaten by his teammate in qualifying.
Okay.
Ever. So he's a good driver in a shitty car. Like, that's it. So but also Williams is one of the poorest teams. So, but they just got bought by an investment firm. So, but apparently that was like Perez's like agents trying to make a deal by making people think that Perez was going to go to different places so you can get a sweeter deal at other places. So apparently that's what was going on there.
Oh, okay.
And then Kimi Räikkönen and Antonio Giovinazzi are re-signed for Alfa Romeo next year. So they're not getting rid of anybody there,
Oh,
which is kind of surprising. But then there was Lawrence Barretto and Will Buxton were talking about it, and they made a point that kind of made sense, but I actually don't know. It's like because next year is going to be essentially the same car. But then the year after that, they're changing to the new specs. So it's going to be a completely different car. And they said there's really no reason to bring on new drivers if you're gonna teach them to drive 2 different cars in the consecutive years.
yeah. That makes sense.
So yeah, it does make sense. But also, isn't any F1 experience? I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know.
But yeah, there's still 2 seats up at Haas, and we don't they're guessing that Mick Schumacher is going to be one of them, and then the other one they have no idea. Because there's a guy, I think there's Caleb Eilert, who I think is the current F2 champion. They're looking at him. And there's Sonoda, who's looked really awesome. But he's a Red Bull driver, which AlphaTauri might get rid of Kvyat and then replace him, but they still don't know yet. And then there's that Mazepin Russian dude who might go to Haas because he'll bring a lot of money, and Haas needs money. So yeah, the only thing that's up for and then Perez, right now a lot of people are speculating that he's going to end up at Red Bull.
Okay.
And then maybe Albon is either doesn't have a drive next year, or he might get moved down to AlphaTauri. So,
But it's all just speculation at this point.
yeah, well, I mean, there's a lot. I mean, a lot of the rumors are pointing to the Perez deal going forward, which that'd be good for him because that means he's going to get in a car that will has a chance to win.
Yeah.
And then he'll bring money to Red Bull, so that'll help. But I kind of would like to see him. I don't know, at Alfa Romeo. I thought that would be cool.
Oh.
Because for some reason I just want to see Hülkenberg at Red Bull. I don't know why. He just makes sense there. because I wanted, it seems like, hey, like let's give Hulkenberg he did a lot of cool things this year out of nowhere. It's like he clearly deserves a seat in F1, but even though he's never won a podium before, he's a veteran driver and he commands like a considerable paycheck. So,
Oh, really?
yeah.
Okay. So their paychecks aren't. It's not like rated by victories. It's just seniority.
Yeah, kind of.
Oh,
Well,
okay.
I mean, he won the 24 Hour of Le Mans, so he's got that in his back pocket.
Yeah, that's true.
And he's really good with feedback, which is why they're like, they think it'd be good for him to go to Red Bull because he'd provide good feedback because they can't figure out, they can only figure out how to get this car to work for Max Verstappen, and if he's there, he might figure out to get a car work for him.
Right.
Because like after he did that race in Silverstone, like he gave Racing Point some feedback, and they changed things after he raced the car, and he raced it once. So, but it's like the thing. He doesn't, like, he's a good driver, but because he's a veteran, he commands a paycheck, but he's never won a podium. But also, he doesn't bring a lot of money with him. Like, he's not bringing $40 million worth of sponsors with him. So
That's true.
what was the? Can't remember if there's other. Oh yeah, yeah. Romain Grosjean doesn't give a shit anymore. Well, he still cares, but he was in an interview and he just like he wasn't sugarcoating things anymore. He wasn't trying to be nice because now he doesn't have to like try to save his seat in F1 anymore because it's already gone.
Oh, okay.
And so he's like, yeah, it's the slowest car it's the slowest car in the grid. Our suspension is fucked. It's been fucked the whole year because apparently what's happening is that what's happening. They have like majority of Ferrari parts on their car, and what's happening is that the heat is like overheating the rear suspension.
Okay.
Not to a point of breaking, but it changes the ride height throughout the race.
The suspension components, the springs heat up, they compress.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so as they're going through a race, the ride height changes basically lap to lap, and that's why they just like it's controllable, but it's just like it's not. You can't prepare for it.
Yeah, it's just like a random variable. Like it's
Yeah.
not going to move in a predictable arc. It's
Yeah.
going to do its own thing. Yeah, that's a little fucked up.
And there's another and maybe someone made sense. There was an article about like, because you wonder, it's like, what does Haas do? Because it seems like basically like their car is as off the shelf as it can be.
Yeah.
But there's this article about like, oh, here's things that Haas do that other people steal from, and they do like a lot of these like Venetian blind pieces where there's just like little pieces coming off the car, and there's just like little slits in them, and like apparently like they started doing that, and then other people copied them.
Okay.
I mean, they already do that kind of like the front wing is already kind of like that, but the Haas started doing it on like other parts of the car. And I wonder if they're doing that to try to cool the rear of the car.
Yeah, it sounds like a heat sink to me of some kind.
But yeah, so yeah, it's the current problem with Haas. But but yeah, he's Romain Grosjean is kind of looking forward to like maybe going to Formula E. He wants to get back into the endurance racing, and then I guess he's showed some interest in IndyCar, which I guess he had no interest in before because he thinks the ovals are too dangerous and he doesn't want to do that. But I guess someone showed him the race schedule for IndyCar, and it's like it wasn't as many ovals as he thought it was going to be. It's basically just like the Indy 500 is pretty much the only oval.
Oh, okay.
And what else was there? And then I don't know what the fuck Magnussen's going to do. Apparently, he said he had an opportunity to go somewhere else in F1, but he said he wanted to win, so apparently a lower team was offering him something, or at least a little bit, but I don't know, I kind of doubt that. I don't know, like maybe Alfa Romeo was offering him Giovinazzi's seat or something, but don't know. But yeah, it's this is one of the most exclusive jobs in the world, so it's
Yeah, yeah. There's not like 500 Formula One drivers that half of them you've never heard of. And is one of the grandest spectacles in racing. And it has. How long has they been doing Formula One?
70 years.
Yeah, so it goes back. I know it went back to like how long after World War II.
Yeah, yeah.
Before that, it was just crazy racing, like just giant engines and cars with 10-speed tires. Let's see how fast we can go. Oh, so I got a new model this week. If we're ready to switch gears now,
Yeah, yeah.
got the ICM's next one in the Chernobyl series. I don't know how well you can see that, guys.
It's the roof.
Yeah. Yeah, for some reason in America and England, it's called the rubble cleaners. But everywhere else, it's called the liquidators. So I think the term liquidators actually has like a trademark on it, but it's just 4 guys and this kind of diorama background of the roof.
Huh.
So I'm going to do one of my textured supplements to the roof where I'm going to actually give it, like I did with the fire truck, where I'm going to give it dimension and detail.
Yeah.
I'm going to try to fabricate that.
Is that something new you haven't done before, or just something you're working on?
I haven't done this before. This model, you mean?
Well, I mean your techniques.
Oh no! Well, yeah, I did the first Chernobyl. It came with like a little hut, and because that was the radiation monitors, and basically it was anything ICM could build around that that ZIL truck that's like the ubiquitous Russian military truck from the 80s till the present, where it's a fire truck, it's an ambulance, so they built a lot of things around that and then custom figures, and this one is just like 5 guys on a roof diorama. So what I'm going to do on the ground is I'm going to create I'm going to look at the picture they painted and just make rubble like that and then glue it on the set and put dust and shit everywhere so it looks real. Because remember, I sent you that picture and you're like, what's going on there now? And I was like, no, that's a model. Because it had the thing on it. But yeah, but that's this one's the rubble cleaners, and then the next one, which is probably going to be out pretty soon, is called the deactivators, and those are the people that went around the actual town and were spraying that glue everywhere to keep the dust down. And I think the guys that shot the dogs too were also part of that.
Yeah.
And then I don't know what the next one's going to be. There's been rumors one of them's going to be called the reactor, but I don't know like if that's going to be just a small model of the reactor or a giant model with a huge diorama set on it. I don't know, because to make a 1/35th scale Chernobyl reactor would take up this whole desk, so which I'd be in for. I'd be cool with it, but
You should do something with one of the helicopters doing a flyover it.
I'm not sure who makes I don't think ICM makes the helicopter models, because this is that Ukrainian company, ICM models that. So I don't know, because they tend to build things around what they have in their stable. Because they're not actually affiliated with the TV series on this. This just came out as a result of that, because it was very popular. But yeah, so now we're just down to the figures, but it's all new mold, so which is cool because all these figures are like super detailed.
Huh.
So I'm gonna be doing my weird microscope painting.
How big are they?
Well, they're 1/35th scale, so here's the torso of one without the arms and legs.
Okay. About the size of a G.I. Joe then, or a little bit smaller?
No, they're smaller than that.
Okay.
About half the size, because there's the head.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And then here's like the legs. So, yeah, that's the next Chernobyl thing. It's the liquidator, or the rubble clearers, as it's called here. And then the other one will be coming out pretty soon, which is just going to be 5 more figures with a diorama background. And then, like I said, I don't know if they're going to do one with the helicopter or if they're going to do the, because it's all speculation, like what's next.
Do stuff with where you're just shoving all the citizens into buses.
Buses. No. Well, they could do stuff around the reactor that would be cool. But again, it's like cost.
Have the naked miners digging a hole.
Yeah. Naked miners. And the hole.
Different kind of miner.
Yeah.
Coal miner.
The trial. Yeah, they could just reenact all the weird scenes. The Soviet system, where it's just a scientist with a bottle of vodka and a pack of cigarettes and an old, Lada car or something.
They had a wrestling event on it, a special wrestling event on NXT. They had the Halloween Havoc wrestling event, which Halloween Havoc used to be a WCW pay-per-view.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't do anything with WCW stuff anymore. So occasionally NXT will do something with it. And so they did Halloween Havoc. And they had the spin the wheel, make the deal. So it was just a wheel and it like determined the match type. And like one of the options on it is the coal miner's glove match. And like, the fuck is a coal miner's glove match?
That sounds kind of weird.
Apparently it's just like you put a coal miner's glove on a pole and like whoever gets to the glove first wins.
Oh, you're supposed to beat each other to death to get this glove?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I'm not sure like why it's a coal miner's glove up on there. That's kind of a trope, the on the pole match, where it's like you can put anything on the pole.
Yeah.
The British guys always love to talk. They always refer to it as the fuck, I forgot. Judy Bagwell in a pole match.
Okay.
Because there's a wrestler named Jeff Bagwell, and the match was they put his mom. They didn't pull her on a pole. She was like on a pallet on a forklift, and it was just lifted into the air. But they always refer to it as a Judy Bagwell in the pole match. Because Jeff Bagwell had to beat the shit out of somebody to then let his mom down. So then, then they could go about their day. Which is like, what if the other guy won? What goes on there?
What happens to mom then?
But anyways, they didn't have the coal miner's glove match. So,
Oh, okay.
they had the Devil's Playground match, which was just a Falls Count Anywhere match.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was a really good episode of. Yeah, it was a great night for wrestling. It was like both shows had really great shows.
Oh, good.
So that was nice. Because NXT's kind of just been down a little bit, where they just kind of seem lost, and so they've slowly like strung together a month of like pretty decent shows, and kind of got things back together. So, but then they keep having COVID outbreaks every once in a while, so that kind of hampers things.
Fucked everything up.
Yeah, there's like a list of a news report. It's like, here's all the areas we're looking for as COVID outbreak areas, and it's like everywhere WWE is.
Yeah. Super spreaders, WWE. Yeah, that's what they should call the next match. WWE Super Spreaders. Yeah, what was it? The playoffs for Grayson's team's, of course, in the playoffs again, and the other team had had kids test positive, so they just forfeited the playoff match. So no game this Friday for me. It's like, yeah, I think the season's over. Or they could just never forfeit and let all the other teams forfeit. Like, we won.
Hey, the Dodgers won the World Series.
Did they? How long has it been since that happened?
32 years.
I knew it'd been a while.
Considering how much money it's been filtered through that team, they hadn't bought a championship yet. But now LA has 2 championships this year.
Oh, that's right.
Lakers won and the Dodgers won.
Well, it's a good time to live in California.
Just in time to leave to go to Texas.
Yeah, just in time to go to Texas. And, do a podcast.
Yeah, I like how there's like conservative people like talking about like this mass exodus of Californians. Like it's like, oh, that state's just a liberal nightmare. It's like you can't get anything done there, and it's not that like, oh, like 500,000 people's houses is burned down. They don't have to do with that shit anymore.
Yeah, and it's horribly expensive to live there. Everything costs through the nose, but that doesn't have anything to do with anyone being liberal either. That just has to do with the economy of that state. what it costs to live there.
Oh, yeah, there's plenty of red in that state that makes that happen. So
Yeah, that's not all just the liberals. But yeah, people are stupid. So believe whatever you want to. I mean, I think they're in trouble as a state, but I don't think it's because, I don't think it's because they just need to be more right wing and that problem. It's like, I think they just have a lot of problems there.
I mean, it's the largest state in the union, so at least population wise. So
Yeah, it has the biggest economy. It has a bigger economy than the UK. And it's what does it represent? 16% of our economy or something? 20%?
yeah,
Quite a bit.
yep. It's a
But it's all-
little too important to just dismiss.
Yeah, can't let that one go. I mean, it's all that hollow tech money stuff, but still, it's
Yeah.
like, in today's world, it's money. On a sad note, Sean Connery died
Yeah,
today, which, he was 90, so it's like,
yeah.
and considering he like drank and smoked all his life, it's like he lived to 90. That's cool. But yeah, that was.
Did it say what of, or was it just natural?
Now
cause?
he died peacefully in the Bahamas with his family around him. So
Okay.
apparently, whatever was. It's just old age. It's
Yeah.
just-
Well, I mean, the last thing I heard, and I think it was just purely rumor, I don't know, was like he was like suffering from dementia, and he was just had a live-in nurse that was taking care of him, and he was just basically being kept alive.
yeah. That's probably accurate. I don't know because he is not.
Because we haven't seen him for like last 20 years. So
Yeah, he hasn't been a public figure since like 2011. He said he's officially done publicly. He did narrate like a documentary or something in 2012, but that was pretty much it.
oh, okay. The last film I remember him was Entrapment, and that was like 99 or something.
Yeah, I'm gonna go through the because Sean Connery was a not as a person because I don't really know him.
I think by today's standard, there's a lot of horrific things in his background, but when you compare it to his contemporaries, he was kind of like probably about the same as everybody else. But
let's see. His last big movie that we've heard of was The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen,
oh right, yeah,
and then we
box
did
office failure.
Finding Forrester. But here's the movies from Sean Connery that meant the most to me. Why I would always watch Sean Connery movies. It'd have to start out with, of course, Time Bandits, because that was a big movie for me, and he was the high point of that movie, I think, or one of the best parts of that movie. And then, of course, the Bridge Too Far. The Great Train Robbery, the Michael Crichton movie.
Yeah,
Remember that one with him and
I actually haven't seen it yet. I just know about it.
actually a good movie. I enjoy the movie a lot. I'm not going to say it's a perfect movie, but him and
Is that a Hercule Poirot thing, or is that something different?
I don't know. I know it's him and Donald Sutherland.
Because he played Hercule Poirot or whatever in something, right? One of those investigative movies.
Who? Connery?
Yeah.
I don't know.
It doesn't matter, anyways.
And then the one that I really liked that is like just a cool movie, but an even better book, but he did such a good job was Name of the Rose.
Huh.
You
Never
remember
saw
that one?
No.
It's the medieval murder mystery. He's a monk. It's got Sean Connery, F. Murray Abram, Ron Perlman, and Christian Slater, a very young Christian Slater. So I think the movie was made in like 85.
Huh.
It's not a perfect movie, but it's a great atmospheric kind of cool movie. And if you read the book, it's really great.
Huh.
And then, like I said, there's all the James Bond movies he was in were pretty cool. Goldfinger was the best, I think.
Yeah.
What's another one I liked him for?
Outland.
Outland, of course. That came later, though.
Yeah, well, that was in his period of like where he'd do anything.
Yeah.
And that was like one of those surprise. It's like, oh, this is actually good.
Yeah. Not well received, but good.
No,
Like,
it was
enjoyable.
cult heel. Actually, I don't know if that's a cult movie whatsoever. It's a movie we like. I don't know if it has like a fan base or not.
Yeah, it does. There's people that like. Well, the thing with it's like we talked about it on the show when we talked about Outland, is that was like right after Alien. Like it was the same production company,
Yeah.
and so it had that same. It's like, oh, this is sort of like this looks like the Alien universe, just without the aliens. It's just drugs and other stuff, and you know, he did a good job, and the supporting cast did a great job. Not necessarily the most best story, but it's a cool Outland, cool movie.
Well, also it's like Peter Hyams. It's like
Yes.
he's like a B minus director where he just occasionally pulls something out, but he makes a lot of movies. Most of them aren't that great, but like also it's like, oh, there's something here. Even like he did 2010, and I remember like everyone hates that movie. It's like, no, watch that movie. It's a fine movie as long as you don't compare it to 2001.
Not the same movie. The only thing the same is about it is how. Everything else is different, but it's fun. And then the Hunt for
Yeah.
Red October. I was never a big Highlander guy.
Well, it's not
I've seen
necessarily
them
like,
both.
it's not necessarily a good movie. It's just kind of like has those things you remember.
Yeah, yeah.
And Sean Connery's in it as a Spaniard with a Welsh accent.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
I'm
also
Juan
like,
Ramiro.
but also like Christopher Lambert, who's French, is trying to do a Scottish accent. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
So you're just gonna go wrong in two different directions. So it works itself out.
And then for real 70s freaky Sean Connery, of course, there's Zardoz.
Which I've never actually watched.
Remember that one?
I've never actually watched Zardoz. I just know all the shit about it.
Guns are good. The penis is bad. Yeah, the weird. It's an Irish. What's that? It's like an Irish movie, it was funded by. It was the guy who directed Excalibur. I remember that.
Yeah.
I watched it like when I was in my 20s. This is weird and strange. It actually is a movie with a point, but getting there is just too hard. So yeah, and then Indiana Last Crusade. I said Hunt for Red October. And then he kind of just sort of checked out. I don't remember much after that I loved. He was fine in The Rock,
Yeah.
which was kind of a silly movie.
It's a really cool action movie.
Yeah, it's a great action movie.
Michael Bay's finest.
Yeah, it's Michael Bay's masterpiece, The Rock. And I don't remember much after that. I always remembered I wanted him to play Gandalf if they ever made Lord of the Rings into a thing, which they didn't do until after he was retired. But
I just remember him in Entrapment, and I only really remember that because that whole trailer is just like, how far can we shove this camera up like Catherine Zeta-Jones' ass?
yeah, that was a weird movie. That's where they were jewel thieves or something, right?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Well, it's also like when those one towers were like the tallest.
Petronas Towers.
Yeah.
Yeah, the ones in Kuala Lumpur
Yeah.
before the Burj Khalifa came along.
Yep.
Yeah, but Sean Connery, we'll miss you. He's a big champion of Scottish independence. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I didn't know much about him like as a person. So I just remember like in my childhood, it's like this guy's in it. It's got to be cool. And generally, it was. If I'd seen it, if it's available, I haven't seen everything he's done. But he has acting that goes back to the 50s. So there's stuff
Yeah, it's like even if it was a shitty movie, you liked him in it. So
yeah, it's like, well, it's Sean Connery, so it's got to be good. He was the best James Bond.
Yeah. I'm weirdly one of those people that like Timothy Dalton is my favorite Bond.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's definitely a step. That's a step in a different direction. Okay.
Well, he only did 2 movies. I just really love The Living Daylights is my my favorite
very-
Bond.
Good movie, yeah. It's a
And
good movie.
License to Kill, like I remember it being more goofy, but if you go back to it, it's like, holy shit, this was a super violent Bond movie.
Yeah, it was violent and dark, and like everyone betrayed him.
Yeah.
And they were smuggling cocaine and gasoline, which was kind of a cool idea. Because he just like poured the gasoline through something, and all the cocaine came out. And I was like, we'd be unstoppable.
Yeah.
I think the production of that movie fell apart or something, and then they just shoved something in the can and put it in theaters. But yeah, parts of it were pretty cool.
It was fuck, what's his name? It was an early role for Benicio del Toro.
Oh, okay.
He gets like caught up in one of those meat grinders that's like turning the cocaine into gasoline.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I think it's just he was like I figured he kind of had that cool like suaveness to him, but he also was very dark. Because like Timothy Dalton's a guy who usually plays villains, so it was kind of like uncharacteristic to make him the hero. But also he's in these like really dark Bond movies, so I just always liked Timothy Dalton as Bond.
Yeah. Oh God, Timothy Dalton's almost 75.
Well, how old's Al Pacino? Isn't he like 81 or some shit?
You know, I don't know. I'm still going down a Timothy Dalton rabbit hole. License to Kill. That's right. He was in Doctor Who too for a little bit. He played the main Time Lord. What was his name? Rassilon? Yeah.
Yeah, recently Timothy Dalton has been in the Doom Patrol series, so he's really good there.
Al Pacino is 80. That's crazy.
It's weird to think about it, like he's only like 10 years apart from Sean Connery.
Yeah. Yeah, that is weird. Like young Al Pacino. He was like, you know, I mean, he's a great actor, but he did some amazing stuff when he was, what's his favorite? What's my favorite 70s movie of him? I mean, The Godfather is good, but I'm trying to think of, can't remember the movie anyway. Totally has nothing to do with what I'm talking about. But yeah, rest in peace, Sean Connery.
Yeah. But we watched another movie this week.
Yes, we did.
We watched Mick G's The Babysitter.
Yes, and I didn't know what to expect out of this, and I watched it, and I don't know what to make out of it. I knew it was kind of one of these quirky comedies.
It was just kind of a fun, dumb horror movie.
Yeah, definitely. It's heavy on the dumb.
Well, it knows what it's doing.
Yeah.
And it's intentionally being stupid, but that's I don't know. I think of like the movie Idle Hands, which like I can't say it's a good movie, but I just like that movie because it's just weird.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, I definitely didn't like it. Definitely, when it started to go crazy, plunged knives into that guy's head. I was like, wait, is he like hallucinating this because of the drug she tried to give him or something? It's like I didn't know it was real.
Yeah.
This seemed to take such a hard turn. I was like, oh, is this like some kind of unreliable narrator where he's actually a good person? He has a weird imagination and there's something wrong with him. And this is what it's like. Nope, it's actually going this way. Okay.
Well, like they have that stuff where like when he's hanging out with his best friend and like everyone around him is just like slowed down.
Yeah.
Like they're normal, like that's weird. And I was like, what's this about? And then it's probably saying he was in love or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
And but yeah, like almost like I feel like this movie wasn't like marketed the way it needed to be.
Okay.
Because as soon as you see the trailer, you know what this movie is. But imagine if the trailer just made this look like it was like some like seduction, like thriller movie, like something along the lines of like single white female.
Okay.
And then you get to the part where she's stabbing a dude in the head with knives. That would be super surprising. And then it's like, oh, this is what this movie is. But being that you go in kind of knowing like, oh, this is a crazy, wacky horror movie, it kind of takes away from it.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't know anything about this before I watched it.
The only reason I know about it, because this one came out in 2017, but there's a sequel that came out this year called The Babysitter Killer Queen.
Okay.
Which you have all the same cast come back because the devil owns their souls, and so now they have to like try to kill the kid again or something. I don't even know what the plot is, but there is a sequel to this movie. So
Yeah. Yeah, let's see. This stars it's Hugo Weaving's niece,
oh, okay, yeah.
and she's Australian, which I didn't know.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Okay, yeah, because there's a funny post about it's like they take Samara Weaving, Margot Robbie, the chick that played the ex-wife in My Name Is Earl, and like some other chick, and they're just like all look exactly the same. Like they all have the same face structure. They're all blonde and all have like kind of this weird quirky smile.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, this I will say at the end is like it wasn't a bad movie, but it just kind of I went into it blind. I was kind of expecting it's like, oh, this is going to be like a wild story within a story. Like none of this is what it seems, and then as it went on, it's like, oh no, this is exactly what it seems.
Yeah,
Which is sort of like I was sort of deflated, but then once you get into it and watch it for just what it is, it's like, oh, it's not terrible.
well, I mean, like I don't know, like I never expect McG to have like layers to his film. Like he's a music video director, and that's what he does, and like he does that well, and so like don't have him go beyond that. Like it's fine, this is fun, so like whatever.
Yeah. And then like the incidental killing that Cole
kid.
does, yeah. It's like the accidental killing. I mean, the actors in this were all good.
Yeah.
I liked all of the smart ass black guy, the dumb cheerleader, the stupid jock. Like they were all
That jock stuff is the weirdest. That was interesting where it's like he was like gonna kill the kid, but then he makes him like try to fight his bully, which is like it's weird and interesting.
trying to teach him a lesson. Like, chokes him to death. Gotta stand up for yourself. And then he did, and he's like, I'm proud of you. You stood up for yourself. Does this mean you're not going to kill me? And he just kind of laughed. It's like, yeah. And they had the crazy Korean girl or whatever.
Yeah.
Who died from fireworks and bug spray. And then his parents were strange.
Yeah.
Which they seemed like nice people, but also the whole thing about I'm going to watch Mad Men over and over again. I was expecting like, oh, what kind of deception is going on here with the parents? Because Mad Men is just a story about people deceiving even themselves about what's going on, and it's like, it doesn't really pay off, but it's kind of there's
It makes
jokes
some
about it.
parallel between I can't remember her name, the
Don
babysitter.
Draper and Don Draper.
Yeah. Well, no, the name of the character in the babysitter, the titular babysitter.
Oh, yes, B.
Yeah, B. Okay.
Yeah. And I thought he was gonna run away with her maybe at the end, like that was gonna be the thing. It's like she was trying to manipulate him, with those crazy eyes she has just staring at him like, I used to be like you. I was afraid before, I discovered this, this devil book, and it grants you all your wishes, and would you like to run away with me? We could have fun. And I was thinking, yeah, don't do it. She's evil. And of course he doesn't. And it's like, oh. And then he drives the Chevelle through the house, the killer, which, was like how they made the skateboard ramp, like that's why there's a ramp in front of the house that would cause that car to do that, which was fun. I mean, it was all nothing needed to be explained or rational.
No.
It was just a crazy movie.
Hey, it's 80 minutes long, so it gets in and out. So
yeah, I was surprised. I was like, oh, okay, what's because there was this after credit thing where she attacks the fireman.
yeah.
So he's not dead, but I was like, okay, is there more now? It's like, oh, this is like an 80s linked movie. All right.
Yeah.
which was fine. It was the length was okay.
And the weird stuff where the chick gets shot in the tit, and then, like, the constant humor about that.
No one's gonna suck on my tits. No one's gonna motorboat deformed titties. It's like, yeah, because it's a shocking scene where this cop gets a fire poker thrown through his head, through his eye socket, and she's like worrying about her, and she calls them tits. It's like to hear, you know, it was
And the other cop can't take the gun away from the black guy who's completely unarmed.
yeah. Yeah, he throws that in there too. Hey, my life matters. You know?
The jock guy is the one who basically killed his partner, but he can't take the gun off the black guy.
Yeah, that was leaving himself wide open. Like, I don't think that guy's the threat, but yeah, there was all kinds of funny humor in this, and everyone gave a good performance too, which made it like more tolerable, I guess. Because this isn't something I would seek out and watch. Like,
No, I mean, it's like a Friday the 13th movie. It's just but it's like self-aware, which is like can be grating but fun too. So this has both.
Yeah, and it's just gory violence too. Yeah. It's like insane violence, like shotguns that explode people's heads, and you know, stuff that doesn't really happen. But it's like ridiculously fun to watch. And it has that, you know, spooky movie theme because that's what's going on right now. Well, not now. Now it's November.
Now it's over. Well, I guess I still have half an hour. Well, I guess it's already done there.
Yeah, we roll back at like 2 a.m. So we have time travel.
Yeah, The Babysitter. Because it's out of season now, but I guess check it out. And at some point, I'll watch the sequel and see what happens there.
Sequel's terrible according to the reviews.
Oh, okay. What
They
did they say about the first movie? Were they more positive about it?
75% positive rating.
Oh, okay.
Because it says it doesn't pretend to be anything but what it is.
Okay.
And it's well put together. It's
Well,
kind of like,
I don't. Sometimes like horror movies are like weirdly overrated. Like
Yeah.
people like really like horror movies. Like just they give them good ratings if they essentially like, oh, there's a killer and there's somebody I wanted to see killed and they did that, so this is a great movie.
yeah, people that like horror movies are people that like a certain type of movies. Because I've learned from watching years of like Red Letter Media and stuff, it's like the one guy's really into horror movies.
Yeah.
And he suggests, and he knows how movies work and how they're put together, and he understands definitely what's right and what's wrong about them. But some of the stuff he likes to watch is like, well, I'm going to try to watch that. I'm just not a horror movie guy. I'm just like, oh, okay, yeah, this is like Suspiria or something. Like I tried to watch that when that was on Amazon. Usually I like avant-garde, weird, disconnected stuff, but this was like, I'm not getting.
Well, I can see like
of this.
Well, like I think what he likes about horror movies, like on a pure level, is like usually because horror movies are genre movies, so you don't need a star to have a successful horror movie. You don't need a big budget, but you can have a lot of ideas.
Yeah,
but you still have to work within the genre. But like within those limitations, you can kind of do crazy, interesting stuff. But you can also make just a terrible genre piece that hits all the right notes, and even if it's a terrible movie, like people will like it.
yeah. I guess I define horror movies as outside of like the first Halloween, which is a great movie on a lot of levels. It's just kind of cool. It's like when I think horror movies, I think like John Carpenter's Thing. Like that is a horror movie. There's horrifying shit going on. You don't know what's going to happen. I mean, there are kind of rules, but it's sort of like, this is so abstract. It's almost like or Alien. The first Alien is like, how do you deal with this? This is frightening. But some guy in a costume just crushing skulls and shit's like that. I did like the first like I said, the first Halloween was great.
Yeah.
But yeah, when you get outside of that, I'm not really into like, I never liked the Nightmare on Elm Street movies, even though there's aspects of the first one I thought that were like excellent movie making. Like,
Yeah.
oh wow, that was a great scene. But overall, like I never was like, oh, I'm gonna watch all 7 follow-up pieces. And
No. It was interesting to watch the Red Letter Media review, like Friday the 13th, because I knew some of the weird stuff were like, because it's like everybody like what you absorb through cultural osmosis, like, oh, Friday the 13th, it's Jason in the hockey mask. That's like what Friday the 13th is, and it was like the first one, it's like Jason is just a dead kid, his mom is the killer.
yeah,
The second one, Jason comes back or is alive and killing people, but he has a bag on his head, and he doesn't get the hockey mask till the third movie.
yeah,
And then like the fourth movie, like I think there's oh, and I think actually the third movie, I forget which one. Yeah, the third movie, I think it's not even Jason. It's like somebody like, because that's a 3D one. I think it's like an insane asylum, and somebody is pretending to be Jason Voorhees.
okay,
And in the fourth one, they like bring Jason back from the grave or whatever. But yeah, it's also weird to see like there's like multiple conclusions to like one of them, like that's like Jason in New York, and like ends in like a sewer where like Jason gets like this weird liquid dumped on him, and he melts into a child, like his child version, which
yeah,
makes
okay,
no sense whatsoever. And then the next movie, he's just back. But actually, the next one sounds interesting because it's like starts almost like an X-Files episode where like Jason is chasing this woman, and then like they run into a forest, and all of a sudden there's like these lights light up, and the FBI blows up Jason.
yeah, it's like a military / FBI operation.
Yeah.
I do. Yeah, I watched their recap of all those movies, and I was like, I didn't know that it was that. I just thought it was the same guy over and over again. I didn't know there was a, like, you know, there was like no sense to have them even connect. It didn't make me want to watch them, but you know,
No.
okay.
There was like a marathon that Joe Bob Briggs did when he was on TNT with Monster Vision. And that's where I saw most of them. And you just kind of like, oh, this movie sucks, but at least Joe Bob's going to come in during the commercial break and give us an interesting tidbit about it. But what was interesting is that like they showed them all except for the fourth one, because for some reason they didn't have the rights to the fourth one, which that apparently is the best one.
Okay.
So I never seen the fourth one, which that's the Red Letter Media had 2 videos about it. So one was just on 4 and 6, which is what they consider to be the best ones. And there was like an additional one that kind of encapsulated all of them. Although I thought they were going to talk about Jason X more, because that's a completely ridiculous movie, but they just showed pictures of it. Yeah,
What was the one where he was in space?
yeah. That one's like, it's a terrible movie, but there's like funny moments that are great. There's one where a guy just dies on a screw, and then he's just like, you see him like he's impaled on a screw, and he's just like spinning down, and there's like characters are like what's going on? And you just see like the body spin down. They're like, ah, it's like, oh, it's funny. But the other one was like they have like a holodeck on the ship, and then like they load up like a what was the name of the camp or whatever, whatever the camp is in the movie. They load it up, and there's like these teenage girls like having a sleepover, and then Jason comes up and just kills them, but you don't really see what happens at first. But then the next scene, they're just wrapped up in a sleeping bag, and he's just beating them against a tree.
God.
I mean, it's a simulation, but it was funny as hell. Yeah, Jay's fascination with horror movies I sometimes don't get. It's like,
Yeah, sometimes it's like some.
well, I mean, you look at the movie,
but yeah,
well, I mean, you look at the best of the worst stuff, and it's like, well, you have to find value out of something, and so he's good at that sometimes.
yeah. I mean, you can't just shit on the whole thing; it would get redundant. So, yeah, I get that, but sometimes it's like, again, my concept of what I consider a horror movie is, I think it's different, you know, because I want to see something that I'm just genuinely horrified by.
Yeah.
Concept of it is frightening. like lunatics running around with, hockey masks. It's like, well, you shoot them. It's like, okay, that's not, unless you give a tie into supernatural stuff. And I don't like supernatural stuff because that just detaches so much from reality. It's like, okay, what are the boundaries here with supernatural? Like, oh.
Well, I was trying to think of like, because like when, like Halloween kind of started the slasher flick craze. I was trying to think of like what like horror movies were before that, and it was like Vincent Price shit, and I've like never watched any of that stuff. I
Yeah.
just know about it. It's just kind of like spooky
No,
things happening or whatever.
Yeah, it's like the 50s, like like men in rubber suits with strange faces, and
I guess
it's
I
some
guess
of that stuff.
I guess Psycho was more of a like progenitor to the slasher flicks.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, that's kind of
Or
in
yeah,
line
just-
with
I
that
guess
to a
I
certain
guess
extent.
I guess Hitchcock basically did horror movies anyways. So.
Yeah, they were more like or what you call thrillers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think of horror as a genre that, because see, horror and sci-fi kind of merge for me. Like, because what I find the most horrifying is this like science fiction-y stuff, not the supernatural stuff.
Yeah.
Because even though like an organ is a thing, or the predator, like, I mean, that could exist in space if there's infinite possibilities. I don't understand the life cycle there, but like Alien, like, oh, that makes sense. Like, yeah, that's just some kind of parasitic violent life form. Like, that could be out there. That shit could be real. An immortal man running around with a machete, that's never happened before. And I mean, all things could be possible, but yeah, I find the abstract, like sciencey stuff horrifying. Or like things like nuclear war and stuff like that. That's those kind of genre things. Like, that's even worse that's like a constant horror film. You're just in a nightmare world. So yeah, trying to think if there's any like pure, because like Halloween, the first one, plausible. Like, you could see like people missing cues, and like the one doctor running around, no, he's a madman, I tell you. And it's like, yeah, that seems possible, because there's no supernatural like, oh, he just comes back time and time again, even though he did, and it got progressively dumber as this went on. But the first one I'm talking about. And it was even cool at the end when Dr. Loomis like shoots him 3 times and he's laying on the ground, and then you go look back outside and there's no one there. It's like, well, yeah, maybe some guy could take if you missed all the fucking critical parts, I guess that could happen. But yeah, I can't think of any pure horror movies that I just like.
I always
that
like
I'm
Evil
really
Dead
watching.
2, but that's just because it's more of a comedy than a horror movie. Or I like the genre mix-up.
Yeah, I remember like Fright Night being kind of interesting. The one with the vampires.
Yeah.
The neighbor's a vampire. But not, again, it was almost too supernaturally, or whatever. Now, if you take like horror concepts and then give them like, oh, this is scientifically why this is happening, those can be kind of interesting.
I'm trying to think. There's some
And then
movie
The pure crazy stuff like Mouth of Madness. That's sort of interesting. That was a big John Carpenter failure, as I remember, but kind of a cool movie.
I saw some cool production stuff about that movie.
Oh yeah.
But it was like something where like there's like a tunnel he's walking through, and like there's all these lights all over the place, and they basically just like took a big tube and just gouged a bunch of shit in there and like lit up, put a bunch of lights behind it, and made it look all cool.
Oh, okay.
It was like really simple but effective.
Yeah, because let's see, who was in that? Sam Neill was the main character, and then who was the writer? It was the guy from Jürgen Prochnow, however you say his name. The guy from Das Boot, the guy who played the captain.
Oh.
He was also Duke Leto in the David Lynch's Dune. Yeah, that's some of that stuff's kind of cool. Depends on what it is. I mean, that was based on kind of loosely based on H.P. Lovecraft. So, but yeah, so that's horror. Check it out around Halloween or whenever.
Yeah, horror's forever.
Or watch The Thing in winter and then take the trash out at night when it's really dark. Dun, dun, dun. I've never heard the sound. I know that the guy who does the Fistful of Dollars and the Ecstasy of Gold, what's that guy's name?
Enrico
Morricone or whatever. He did the soundtrack for The Thing, and then they didn't use it. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, because they just John Carpenter went to Italy or England or whatever and just showed him a rough cut of the film, and they didn't really get to work together, and so he like just wrote a soundtrack around it that sounded. I've heard snippets of it. It's almost like gothic horror type music, like not quite the organ playing, but not far from it.
Yeah.
But I've never seen it overlaid on the movie. Like it's out there, you can buy it, but it never. It was just John Carpenter was like, no, I like this music better.
Well, yeah, when you have a director who can do music, write, and direct, I mean, but it was also, I mean, that was also like his biggest budget movie of like he's ever did. So he probably like, hey, we can throw some money at this, and like, oh, cool. And then he's like, never mind.
Yeah. I mean, the soundtrack for The Thing it's like all John Carpenter's soundtrack, simple, effective.
Yeah.
Doesn't overwhelm the scene, but it's there.
Yeah, I hear like, maybe never see it again, but like one of the things he's been doing recently is he tours with his son, and like they do the soundtrack to all his movies. They play it live.
Oh, that'd be cool.
I hear it's I hear it's pretty neat.
Yeah, he did he has albums, like I think it's like John Carpenter's Soundscapes.
Yeah.
It's I have downloaded a bunch of those off iTunes. Listen to them. I didn't know they were going around live. I'm sure they're not doing it now, but
No.
Well, that's all I got.
All right.
This week for the American Greed Factory podcast, this is Nathan.
This is Conlon. Goodbye, America.